When you feel that the challenges that are likely to come in your life are bigger than your capacity to deal with them, then you feel anxious. That's one of the definitions of anxiety. Hi there, meditator. Welcome to episode 97 of Master Your Mind Daily, your daily source of inspiration for all things meditation, anxiety, and personal growth. My name is Giovanni Dienstmann. I am the author of Practical Meditation and the creator of liveandthere.com, one of the top 5 most read meditation blogs on the web. And today we're talking about anxiety as overestimation of dangers and underestimation of self. I'll explain what that means and what you can do about it. But first, let me start with a question. Is anxiety something that you struggle with regularly? If so, please write yes. And if no, please write no in the comments. So, to make things a little bit more concrete, let's have an example of, let's say you need to give a speech at a friend's wedding. If you feel that that is something really difficult to do, that it's a difficult experience to go through, and that it's difficult to do it well, then you may feel anxious. Or if you feel that perhaps it's not a big deal, but you are not good enough for it, then you feel anxious. You see, there are these two elements there. The two variables of anxiety, the overestimation of danger and the underestimation of self. If you change any of these, the experience of anxiety will change and perhaps even disappear. So, in this concrete example, it could mean that you realize that giving a speech is not that dangerous, that the likelihood of you bombing it is small, and that most likely it's going to be a good experience with some preparation. Or it may also mean that you realize that you increase your capacity. You prepare. You increase your self-confidence. You make sure that you are in the right mindset, that you are calm that day. Then there is also less need to feel anxious. And the same applies for whatever situation you may be anxious about. Be it a health problem, losing your job, a difficult conversation with a family member, whatever it is. There's always these two elements. Now, is this making sense? Let me know if this concept is making sense, otherwise I have to expand it more. And the idea here is you pick any of these two elements and then you change it and your experience of anxiety will change or even disappear. So let's start with the first element, the overestimation of danger. Anxiety is that tendency in us that sees dangers everywhere, that sees risk and problem everywhere. And it increases the perception of what that problem is, of what's going to happen if the problem comes about, and how hard it will be to deal with it. So how can you undermine that mistake in thinking? How can you change that variable? Well, first is asking yourself, how likely is it that the thing that I'm anxious about will actually happen? Is it 70%? Is it 10%? Is it 0.5%? How likely is it to actually happen? And how likely is it that if it happens, that it's going to be as bad as I think? And reflecting like that, you will most likely feel less anxious about it because you see that it's less likely for it to happen, and if it happens, it's very unlikely for it to be as bad as the story your mind is telling you. Now, the second element is, if it happens, if the thing I'm anxious about actually happens, how soon can I recover from it, and how? Try to think of 3 different things you can do to recover from that situation if it happens. And also think, how long will it take for you to get back to the status quo? And most likely than not, you will notice that what you're afraid of, what you're anxious about, is A, unlikely to happen, B, unlikely to be that bad, and C, if it happens, there are many things you can do to recover from it or to manage it. Like this, the anxiety diminishes. And a third thing is, even if it happens, and even if it's hard to recover from it, and even if it's really bad, what good might come from it? In terms of lessons, in terms of experience, in terms of side effects that you maybe can't imagine now because you haven't thought about it. Anything that happens is likely to have some good side, some silver lining. So if you ask yourself these three questions, the overestimation of danger side of the equation of anxiety, that would diminish. And then on the other side, we have the underestimation of self. Because if you have the attitude that no matter what happens in my life, I will be okay. I will be able to handle it. I will be able to create something good with whatever life throws at me. If you have that attitude, that confidence, then you're not feeling anxious. You're feeling calm. So in a way, the opposite of anxiety, yes, the opposite of anxiety is calm and centeredness, but the opposite of anxiety is also confidence and self-belief, resilience. Okay, so how can you increase your capacity? So one way is to develop that more positive outlook on things. Another way is to try to bring the unknowns into the known. When things are unknown in our life, it's very easy for us to fear them or to be anxious about them. But try to think about, okay, what are these things that I'm so much afraid of? What, if I can write them down, what would actually happen? What is it about? And by going through this exercise, at least you bring the unknown into the known. And then you can have a plan B. If you're anxious about losing your job, then write everything about that experience and that event in your life that makes you anxious. Rather than having everything lumped together and then you don't know how to deal with it, actually bring it forward. Call it by their name, each of those events, each of those emotions. And then have a plan B. Okay, if this happens, okay, one of the things is I will feel embarrassed. I will feel ashamed. I will feel confused. Okay, so now you have already developed some clarity and self-awareness. How can you deal with the feeling of embarrassment and confusion that comes? Is there a way that you can deal with it? And as you keep thinking like this, you're developing your own inner resources. And then the underestimation of self is checked because you know that you can deal with things. You know you can create something good out of whatever life brings to you. Another way is to educate yourself. If you are afraid of speaking in public, of delivering a speech at a friend's wedding, if you are anxious about it, then practice, increase your skills, increase your knowledge, deliver that speech in front of the mirror, in front of a friend, whatever it is that allows you to go through that experience, and again, bring the unknown into the known and create that capacity in you. Then it's easier to change anxiety into self-confidence. And finally, there is a type of meditation where you actually visualize yourself going through that experience. You visualize yourself in that experience, feeling the anxiety in the moment, and then remembering to practice the breathing, the meditation, the mindset shifts, and then you see yourself in your meditation being able to overcome that feeling of anxiety and fear and going through that experience successfully. And this is an exercise that I teach in my Overcoming Fear of Failure course, which is part of the Limitless Life program. I will include a link in the description. So in summary, Anxiety happens when we overestimate the dangers and the risks. That's one side. And we underestimate ourselves, our capacity to deal with those things if they arise. These are the two elements of anxiety. And if you can change any one of them, then you can change the experience of anxiety and perhaps even fully overcome it. How can you change the perception of danger in the event? You can ask yourself, how likely is it to actually happen? If it happens, what can I do to recover it? And how soon can I recover it? And if it happens, what can I learn from it? And what good may come from it? And then on the other side, on the side of self, increase your capacity, increase your confidence, increase your knowledge and your skills, and have a positive mindset that you'll be able to deal with whatever thing life gives you. And if you can develop these two sides of the equation, then the experience of anxiety will slowly recede and it will not control your life anymore. You'll be able to live more calm, centered, and focused. And you'll begin to master your mind and master your life. If you have found this video helpful, I think you would love my Limitless Life program, where I take you step by step through all these techniques and concepts. You can go to limitlesslifeprogram.com or click the link in the description. And can you think of any friends or family members that will benefit from watching this video? And thank you for sending them their way. If so, please share it with them or tag them in the comments. Thank you for watching and happy growing.